Welcome back to Pressure Point, and this is Sandy, and obviously I am kicking it with KJ,
The boy, the light-skinned
Yes.
kid, the newborn king, the last in the family. Call me whatever, as long as you calling me.
As long as you're calling
go.
me.
That's right.
This is Pressure Point, and on our Pressure Point topic to-do list today, we are talking about sex work. And I know we're going to have a very interesting conversation today. I cannot wait.
Deep one.
A very deep one as well. In 2021, sex work is still an industry that is still looked down upon. It's a taboo. Nobody really wants to talk about this industry. I actually just got off the phone with my friend. I'm like, no, I'm actually about to do a show. And she's like to me, what's the show about? I'm like, the show is about sex work. You know, I'm talking to somebody from the communications, a communications officer for sex workers. Like, sex work.
Yeah,
and she gave me that sound like,
there's a stigma about
yeah, and she started like, sex work, what are you talking about, sex work? But anyways, I mean, people still react.
Deep, man.
People still react like, why are we even having this conversation? But I think it's a conversation that we need to have. It's a conversation that we need to actually go into.
But luckily, this is what we're going to talk about.
That's exactly what we're talking about. Why is it tough to openly and honestly have a conversation about sex work without sitting on the edge of the seat? Sex work, I actually thought that sex work was legalized, but it came to my surprise that it's
illegal.
Illegal. But you know, there's just like some funny terms going on there. But not to worry, we are diving into that a bit later on today through the show. The industry has been faced with so many challenges, and one major challenge is the violation of human rights. I mean, did you even know yourself that the 14th of September is National Sex Workers Pride?
I never even knew that.
Didn't know that, right? It's a day where sex workers celebrate their achievements. And today I'm hoping that we are being joined by Yonela. Yonela is a communications officer from the SISONKE MNE. So I don't know, Yonela, do we have you online?
Yonela.
Hi, I'm here.
Are you here?
Hey.
Okay, can you hear us? Okay. Can you hear
Yes, I can hear you.
how's the sound?
It's okay.
Okay. Yonela, please introduce yourself to us.
Okay, I am Yonela Sincu from the sex workers movement called SISONKE.
Okay. And what made you interested in the sex work industry?
Well, growing up, our apartment used to overlook a very busy street in Cape Town called Voortrekker, and that was where a lot of sex workers conducted their business. And I just became very curious about what sex work is and who sex workers are. And I sort of formed a big sister, little sister relationship with one of the ladies who were on the street. And growing up, I got to know that what is sex work, what sex workers experience. And I made it my mission to be a part of a movement to advocate for sex workers' rights. And today, here I am.
Here you are. How many years have you been? How many years has it been now?
I joined SISONKE specifically last year in July, but before that I was a journalist, so which means that for the past almost 10-12 years I've been in journalism and specifically looking out for sex worker related articles.
Okay.
Right. So if I may ask you, Nella, why did the sex workers establish their organization?
Well, it was to formalize. It was to formalize the industry, to actually recognize sex workers as people, and to sort of reduce the stigma around sex work, and to advocate for sex workers' rights. That sex workers here recognize us, treat us like people.
Okay. And can you tell us more about the sex workers pride? You know, I don't know, Yonela, do you have like a TV on or radio on your side? I just keep hearing this sound. I don't know if it's me or...
Let me just... yeah, there's a meeting happening not far from where I am, so I'm trying to get that reduced. Is it still loud?
I can still hear it a bit.
Even now?
Yeah, I think now that's much better.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
Sorry about
much
that.
better. Thank you. No problem. So, just carrying on, can you tell us about the sex workers' pride?
Well, sex workers' pride is similar to gay pride from the LGBTQIA community. That is a very, when you're saying that one, you must say it very slowly, otherwise
You get it wrong.
and you will get it wrong. So it is similar to the LGBTQIA community, where in this case we say sex workers are here to stay, recognize us, and this is what we are proud of, and this is what we do. And it's also to get the community at large to understand what sex worker is and what sex work is and who sex workers are.
As well.
So seeing that you guys like you have this is this organization, brother. So how has this organization improved the life of sex workers?
We're taking strides. I mean, having to work under the radar in most cases is not easy. So what happens is that sex workers are working under the radar. It's not easy. And this is a movement for sex workers, by sex workers. So to actually stand up here and say, this is what we do, and having to have so much backlash, it's not going to be an easy task. But we've braved the tide and said, okay, fine, we're going to go against the tide. And one of the notable experiences is that there has been stigma reduction. It's still there, but it's reduced. Even if it's reduced by 2%, we appreciate it. Sex workers' lives are now better in the sense that we are now sitting in the civil society as a part of representation. We have representation in civil society. That's where all the key populations sit. And they've got a direct communication with the deputy president to address matters who affect key population, that is the people who are normally marginalized, including sex workers. So that is a big plus for us. And we also now have a place where sex workers can go, an organized place, and have sex workers' rights recognized and say, such an act is a human rights violation and it shall not be acceptable. And they have someone that they can talk to. That is, sex workers from the ground have a place where they can go to and be recognized and be treated fairly. For instance, we do court support where a sex worker is raped or killed. Then we follow up on such cases and we record those cases, and we ensure that justice is served.
Okay, and for the longest time, Yonela, I thought that the sex industry was actually very legal. I remember the last time we had a conversation, you actually explained how exactly is it legal and how exactly it's not legal. Can you just take us through that whole explanation again?
Okay, first of all, sex workers are legal, but sex work, the act, it's illegal. So if I am Yonela and I say I'm a sex worker, there's nothing wrong with that. But now if I have a client and I'm soliciting a client and I do get that client and we're exchanging money for whatever service that I want to render to him, then the act is illegal. So we're both now criminalized under that, under the act, that the two of you are now exchanging money for the sexual
that
favor.
doesn't make sense, right? Because why legal the sex worker, the work itself, but then not legalize the work itself? I mean,
yeah, it's absurd because it's like saying that, okay, you can have a stall here, but you can't sell anything at your store.
What's the point?
That's very ridiculous.
So seeing that there is this stigma in our society, regarding sex working, if you are a sex worker, they regard it as demeaning, right? So if I may ask, would you say that the law is protecting the sex workers?
Well, in this case, the law is not protecting the sex worker. It's not protecting anyone in the sex work industry. In fact, what the law is actually doing, it is actually perpetuating a lot of human rights violations against sex workers, because if when the law in itself and the act in itself is misinterpreted, because what is happening is that police officers believe that as a sex worker you are illegal. So by actually standing at a street corner or being at a brothel and not doing anything, then automatically they come and arrest you because they're saying what you are doing is illegal. But I'm sitting at a brothel and I'm not doing anything. So how can you say that that is illegal? Because it could be my home. So why are you saying my home is illegal?
It doesn't
So
make
in its
sense.
fact
I
that
know I've seen a lot on the news, on television. I see that they raid the homes, you know, the brothels.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, if they are not caught in the action, then why are they getting arrested? If
that's
they actually
that's
not
where
caught in what is deemed as illegal.
Yeah, because now that's where the misinterpretation comes in, because it is believed that now the sex workers must be arrested. They don't belong in society. They are scum in a way. So get rid of scum. And that is not the case. You are arresting the wrong people at the wrong time
At
for
the
the
wrong
wrong reason.
time.
For
At
the
the
wrong
wrong
reasons.
for
And
the
that's you
wrong
find
reason.
and you've also find that these cases go nowhere because there's no charge. I mean, what are you charging me for? I'm at home, I'm doing nothing. What are you charging me for? Just
So
because you
basically,
know house X is deemed as a brothel. So automatically everyone who lives there is now illegal. But now when you go to court, there's no charge because that person is at home doing what? It's not a criminal offense to be at home.
So basically, what they do then, I'm assuming, is just they take the workers and just violate them and maybe make them
Yeah.
But
stay
they also
there.
have rights, though.
Yeah, but I
Right?
mean, if they take the worker and they take them to jail, and obviously there's no case, they just basically release them.
True.
That's what
Yeah.
happens.
So
What
Yonela,
happens?
if I may ask, seeing that it's this lockdown and, you know, it's crazy times, like how has the industry been performing during these COVID times?
It has been I'm saying this has been the worst time for our whole country, especially for sex workers, because remember a lot of sex work takes place in the evening, and now we've got curfew. So you can't be outside, you cannot be interacting with people at any time, because this is a business where you interact with people, be it mostly physically, because a lot of our sex workers are people who do street-based sex work. A lot of people do brothel-based sex work. So it becomes now difficult because no one, and a lot of the clients have lost their jobs as well. So no client, no money for you.
No
I mean,
money.
and what this has meant is that now for service A, which you would provide for X amount, you negotiate for the least, because I mean something has to give. So it's been a very tough time for sex workers especially, and whenever decisions are being made to cater for the general population, sex workers are shunned aside.
Wow. So I'm
So there was
assuming,
no
because you know, during lockdown people have been getting funding, emergency funding. I know there's like 350, and some people have gotten an increase on their grant. Are sex workers given the same opportunity, at least maybe get some grant or some funding of some sort?
no, we are treated worse than criminals in a prison cell, trust me. Nothing was said about sex workers. Nothing. I mean, when we actually stood up and said, "Hello, sex workers are here," they were like, "No, why should you give you money? Why? Who are you?" It was almost unheard of that you're gonna give subhumans money, kind of. That is the treatment which we got when we said recognize sex workers, give something for sex workers. They were like, "Sex workers? Who? Why? Where?"
And they
You know,
forget that these very same people that are working, you know, they actually provide for their families as well, you know,
Yeah.
in as much as
I mean, they have their own rights too
yeah,
to be working.
to be
Yes.
working as well, just like everybody else. But what impact does the industry have on transgender?
transgender people are the most misunderstood people and most abused people in our society, whether sex worker or not, because it's even worse when it comes to transgender sex workers. The abuse is almost like double what I, as a woman sex worker, would have to experience. A lot of our clients are very abusive towards transgender sex workers, and there's still that whole stigma behind gays and lesbians only. I mean, let alone being a transgender now. It's a total different ballgame because people don't even know what a transgender is. So I think a lot of education has to be done around what transgender entails, whether women or men, because we get transgender men who go into sex work and we get transgender women who go into sex work, and half of the time they don't even make a quarter of what I as a woman, as a female sex worker would earn. So the lines are very blurred as to
They're very blurred as well, because
where
I
the
think
client is and what clientele the transgender sex worker caters for.
I mean, now, while we're still on this conversation of transgender, would a transgender, obviously, maybe a client comes around, do they actually say at first, I'm transgender, or they just go with the flow? What happens? Should they actually expose themselves at first hand, or how does it work?
In most cases, they try and be as transparent as they possibly can, because I mean, you don't want to be caught by surprise, like, what is this now? So they try and be very upfront with it, and they still face abuse. Even though they're being upfront and saying, okay, here I am, I'm a transgender sex worker, and then person does not understand what a transgender sex worker is, and they still go ahead and say, okay, fine, we can carry on, let's do our business. And during that time, when whatever service has to be rendered, and then the person, the tables are turned. And like, some people even make silly excuses such as, you tricked me, you misrepresented yourself. I mean, how does one misrepresent themselves if they do tell that upfront that, listen, I'm a transgender person?
Yeah, this is pretty complex.
So would you say that there is a criteria that you have to meet in order to be a sex worker, if I may ask?
No, there are no requirements. I mean, as long as you're comfortable, because I mean, being a sex worker, it's almost like running your own private business. So how you run your business, it's your business. You make the terms and conditions.
Take upon yourself, because this is, I would say it's a very risky job. Would you not say?
It is a very risky job. It is a very undermined job, if I may to say, and because a lot of people see sex workers as trash. They all the ugly stereotypes are associated with sex workers. For instance, if there's human trafficking, it will be collated to sex work, and yet sex workers have nothing to do with human trafficking. No sex worker traffics anyone.
But why would they assume that?
Because this is what happens. A lot of our criminal acts and the doers of these criminal acts, they know that sex workers are the people that are unwanted in society. So everything that we do will be associated with them. So they become the soft target of these criminal activities. So if someone is into sex work, and even our illegal immigrant sex workers, what they normally do, if police officers come and arrest them, then person claims that I don't have documentation because I was trafficked into sex work. So the branch of the law becomes more lenient when they say that. And then when stats are recorded, it said that sex workers traffic people, which is also inaccurate, because it's not people in sex work who traffic anyone. And it's also said that sex workers are encouraging children into sex work. I mean, I was 15 when I was interested in knowing what a sex worker is, and the person I was in touch with, she always said to me, this is not a place for children. I don't want you on the streets. As much as I didn't want to be on the street, but I was just curious in knowing. So everything that she told me, she would caution me that this is not a place for children. And we still preach that even today, that if you are under 18, you are not a sex worker. If a person is using a child for sexual favors and buying them alcohol and saying that child is a sex worker, that is not true. You are actually violating a child's rights.
But then
You are actually a rapist by doing that.
I know that you also have outreach programs, right? That's where you go around and you educate people as well, right? But I think just to wrap it up, we are out of time, and my producer is going crazy here, or technical person. Can we just wrap it up?
But though I gotta say that we got people like Yonela that can teach us about sex working, you know,
definitely,
to break that mentality that we have in the society. Really
so I think
that.
maybe you can just share with us, where can we get more information if we want to learn more, if if there's a 15-year-old like yourself that wants to learn more about the industry and wants to do better and maybe give back, where can we find you?
We are on Facebook, and our Facebook name is SISONKE Movement ZA, and you will see it's got a logo like the one on my shirt.
Yes.
And we've got we're on Instagram as well, and that is at SISONKE SA. And we've got we're also on Twitter. We've got SISONKE _ZA. And one can also visit our website, which is www.sisonke.org.za.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yonela, for making time yet again. I hope that we'll keep in touch with you again. We'll have more conversations around this topic very soon.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You have a good week.
Same to you. Bye, Yonela. I mean, that was quite interesting, but I'm hoping that we can go into maybe something a bit easy, maybe a music
ease us
track.
up, because this, you know, like this the sex working, like it's sort of like a taboo in the community, so it's a beautiful thing. That's
definitely. So maybe you can hit us up with the music track and
ease us up.
Yeah, and let's ease it up.
Let's go.
What are you doing? Guys, this is unacceptable. Where's you? I'm not a snitch. You're not a snitch. Tell me I'm sitting in my office when you get there. This is unacceptable.
The stumble is not the fall. Utanungele lubama nitini konja. Adisuvanga we. Sugu na semini ngu. Adisuvanga we. Utanungele lubama nitini konja. Adisuvanga we. Sugu na semini ngu. Adisuvanga we. Utanungele lubama nitini konja. Adisuvanga we. Sugu na semini ngu. Adisuvanga we. Utanungele lubama nitini konja. Adisuvanga we. Sugu na semini ngu. Adisuvanga we. Adisuvanga we. Adisuvanga we. Sugu na semini ngu. Adisuvanga we. Adisuvanga we. Adisuvanga we. Sugu na semini ngu. Adisuvanga we. I need to anizubanga we suku nasemini ngu anizubanga we anizubanga we anizubanga we suku nasemini ngu anizubanga we ishu